G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today in getting started in the Horus Heresy, we are looking at the Iron Warriors. So, as per the previous videos, we are assuming here that people are starting with the Horus Heresy starter set. You're going to have 40 basic Marines in power armor, 10 Cataphractii Terminators, Contemptor Dreadnought, 2 Praetors, and a Spartan. So, first thing we add to this, as usual, is the correct rules, and we want the Liber Hereticus, the Traitor Legiones Astartes army book. This one here will give you the rules to Iron Warriors, both Loyal and Traitor. Next thing we want to add is transfers. So these will give you the appropriate squad markings. This is actually a fantastic transfer sheet, one of my favorites, with lots of icons, and actually has enough of most of them to do both doors on a vehicle. You'd be surprised how many transfer sheets do not. So great choice, especially with the Spartan, and all those giant skulls down the bottom right of this particular transfer sheet are going to come in handy, because when you build this force up into a larger force, you're going to get a lot of vehicles, and these will be very handy symbols for you. Now, unlike the other legions we looked at previously, where we were able to utilize a lot of plastic components or Games Workshop parts, with the Iron Warriors, we mostly have to look outside of Games Workshop and actually look at Forge World, because Games Workshop recently removed the old Warsmith from production and the new Warp Smiths and such for Chaos in 40k. It's just not quite the same as the previous ones, and it doesn't look quite right for parts for the Horus Heresy. Now, don't be alarmed, because there's a lot of simple things we can do. The first one's going to be these Space Marines here, the 2 different Tech Marines. The servo harnesses, in particular, are the parts we want to get off these guys. The heads aren't bad either, but yeah, the servo arms on the backpacks, if you've got other backpacks with servo harnesses, that's great too, because we want to take those and we want to get them onto our 2 HQs, this guy and this guy. Now, the good thing about Iron Warriors is something like this guy here with the random assorted chainmail and the skulls banner on the back, he's perfectly acceptable in an Iron Warriors army. He would fit right in. I don't really like the head that comes with the stock model, so my suggestion would be to actually look at going down the route of Iron Warriors Legion heads. Specifically the ones with the Iron Warriors skull face. To me, those are very iconic for characters. I only utilize those for squad sergeants, centurions, that kind of thing, because I think having the Legion icon as your helmet icon is really speaking to you being a more advanced member of the Legion, whereas the targeters and the ones with the little hazard stripes, I prefer to spread elsewhere. So between those and the backpack, I think they're a good fit onto both this model and this model in order to upgrade them and accessorize them a little bit. Now, I would be cutting off the right hand of this model, as I've suggested on previous episodes, and probably putting a Thunderhammer there, either to use as a Thunderhammer or a Power Maul. Of course, some people prefer Paragon Blades, and being a more engineering-focused Legion, the Iron Warriors, I think a Power Axe would actually look really good in that hand as well as an optional feature. Of course, there's also the Iron Hands, Iron Father, which you would have seen earlier. This model only has one piece of Iron Hands iconography on the main model and one on his weapon. So that is obviously the, one on each side of his weapon, which is the Iron Hands hand, and of course one on his chest. Super easy to remove, and simply removing those and replacing it with an Iron Warriors decal, all of a sudden you have an Iron Warriors Warsmith in Cataphractii armor. Perfect to add to the Cataphractii Terminators you get in the basic box. Now, when it comes to the rest of the miniatures, as with other episodes, yep, there are helmets you can add, but I actually would suggest going for the Iron Hands helmets here. Featuring a lot of bionics, and of course that more traditional Mark III iron armor feel, these helmets combined with a mixture of the other helmets here, together spread throughout your squads, will take away from just the constant Mark VI. I know a lot of Iron Warriors players feel a bit weird about using Mark VI. They know it wasn't favoured by the Primarch. Totally fair. I would suggest turning it into more of a Mark V in that instance. Hence, use different helmets. Play around with it a little bit and accessorize. And that's where these Iron Hands upgrades come in, because these, to me, help to really separate the Mark VI as you see it into something a little bit more visually dynamic and interesting. Of course, going on from there, we have the Domitar Ferrum Battle Automata. I think two of these guys are just a fantastic addition to any Iron Warriors army in order to really make them stand out as being Iron Warriors. The minute you see two of these flanking your primary character, you immediately know this is Iron Warriors. And it again will help to take the eye away from the preponderance of, or prevalence I should say, of Mark 6 power armor that you're going to be seeing throughout the Force. It adds something visually to it. It can't really let you wrong. These guys are great miniatures, especially in smaller points game. They can be really, really strong miniatures. So I suggest taking them because they're never going to be a bad thing to have in your Force. You're never going to be unhappy with having these models in your collection. They look fantastic. They're not crazy hard to build. They're some of the more friendly resin models to assemble. So all in all, a bit of a win. And again, it just adds such character to the Force. I mean, look at these things. Just awesome. And, you know, you've got decals and all of that you can accessorize them with if the stock model bores you for some reason. And of course, last but not least in the list of units I would suggest is more Iron Hands. In this case, it's a Iron Hands Legion Mark III squad. Excellent choice for additional characters in the Force. These guys have torsos that are separate to the legs. So a simple trick is to put a small piece of green stuff or plastic card in the hip joint between the legs and the chest. That small ball socket in there will allow you to just get a little bit of extra height on these miniatures in order to make the scale a little bit more favourable. And you can also place a small sliver of plastic card underneath their feet to, again, give them a little bit of further height. Now, these make great characters for the Force, as in consoles such as Siege Breakers, Tech Marines, Masters of the Forge, you know, all those usual sort of ones, Praevians. Or you can utilise these guys in such a way as to kit out squad sergeants, or even to create a Legion veteran tactical squad. So lots of variety in there. Thanks to the cog shoulders and such as well, you can either shave away the Iron Hands symbol or just spread some of these shoulders throughout other miniatures in the Force, because they have a sort of gear tooth motif going on there, which is quite nice. Now, apart from that, that's pretty much it for the Iron Hands for the moment. For the Iron Warriors. That's it for the Iron Hands miniatures, I should say. And the Iron Warriors Legion is one of those ones that's really, really going to benefit from moving towards other infantry types and tanks when we expand on the Force in the next episode for the Iron Warriors. Anyway, that's all from me. I know it was a short and sharp episode, but again, Games Workshop has really sort of gutted the Iron Warriors range and the Iron Hands range. And unfortunately, I used to pull from both of those quite heavily in order to create my own Iron Warriors, because the Iron Hands miniatures have so much chainmail and cogs and machine-related stuff that just suits them so well. And with both ranges having diminished and not having extra characters brought out, it has made it quite difficult. So I really suggest utilising parts from both ranges together in order to really help build up both legions. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all on the next episode.